Welcome to part 2 of this audio to MIDI tutorial. We're going to now look at printing out the MIDI after we've set up all our gates and triggers. So let's get to it. So next we're going to create 4 MIDI tracks. And we are going to just locate them, there they are. And I just want to put those below there. I'm just going to name them as such. Same thing again, so let's call that kick MIDI, snare MIDI, T1 MIDI, T2 MIDI, and we want to assign no output to these. So is no output, no output, no output, and no output. Next we want to assign the instances of trigger to each MIDI track. So if we go to the kick MIDI track here, go to the input, and there's kick from trigger. Same for snare, same for tom 1, tom 2. Next we need to record arm each of our MIDI tracks, and we need to set a drum map for each of the MIDI tracks. I'm just going to expand these out. You can see I've got this little icon here, which you can select the drum map. I have this little drum map called drum shells. So that's drum shells, just double check. Yep, that's all going to drum shells. And then next we're ready to record out our MIDI. So I'm just going to select the whole area we need recorded, go back to the beginning, and then I'm going to hit record, and this should start playing out our MIDI. However, I do need these selected. Yeah, that should give me everything. You'll see the MIDI's recording out. Just going to turn on some overheads here. As you can see, we've recorded out MIDI, and we can use this to gate our drums accurately and also trigger samples. So now we have all our MIDI recorded out. I'm going to take the time to go through and check for any mistakes and misfires, or if anything needs to be added in, which is easily enough done. So I'm just going to start by just dragging each of these tracks down below each of the source tracks. That down there. Just going to resize my tracks here. Okay, that's good. And I want to compare what we've got to the source. So I'm just going to go through each of these tracks. I usually find that the kick and the snare usually come out pretty accurate, but sometimes there are mistakes which you need to pay attention to. So far looking so good. Still looking pretty good. Shouldn't take me that long to go through. It's actually looking really, really good. Yep. Excellent. Okay, and that was the kick done. So I'm going to do the same now for the snare, so I'm just going to put my track heights back to where they were. Just make these bigger. And same process here. Okay, so I can see I already need to add one in here. So we need to go to our track controls and we need the edit in place setting added. There we go. And then we can that's it, drag to the right. And I'm just going to copy this one here. Turn off my grid and just drag that to the beginning of the transient. Should be good enough there. And just move that down. So again, if there's any others missing, I can easily add those in with this add in place or edit in place. So I'm just going to scroll through again until we come across any more mistakes. Hopefully won't be too many more. Just need to hear what that is. So yeah, that's a snare roll, so that needs to be added in as well. So again, edit in place, and I'm going to copy there. Just place that at the beginning. Ignore that these say kick for now, they're just on the actual kick track within the MIDI map. These will get moved in a moment. So let's go back to okay, so there's quite a few missing off this one, which I wasn't anticipating. So again, let's draw that in there. I mean, you could do this all manually like this, but that's a lot of work. I know people that do it. Not sure the benefit of myself when there is a way around it to get most of the work done in one shot, like I've done. You can see it gets most of the hits, and this is all really good. I think we got all of that. So again, gonna resize and do tom 2. Now this takes a little bit more working out because you have to listen to the track to hear what exactly is going on. 2 toms, snare, snare. So I know I've got to go in and edit these. So easiest way to do it is from here. And again, just going to go through and get rid of that. That's most definitely a snare, yeah. So I'm just going to go take the time to get this done properly. Okay, so that's possibly 2 hits there, I think. So just going to draw 1 in there. into this one as well. Yeah, snare. Get them out of there. Out. You good? Snare. Out. Those two are good. Snare. So similar scenario over here. Tom tom. Oops. Yep. Let's see what these are. Yep. As you see, they're so loud they come through quite loudly in the tom mic. That's why they get picked up so easily by our trigger. Out. Okay, that's probably another snare. Yep. Out. No, that's another snare. That's probably a tom. This one's not. Out, in. Yep. They're gone. Okay, so that looks like we might have a run of them here. Yep. Out. They're all out. Pretty sure that they would all. Yep. 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 These can all go. Yep. Another one of these. So these can all go. And that's it for tom 1. So we got Rogue One on the end there. Okay, so again, maximize out tom 2. We'll do the same for this one. Get it in place. That's just one tom hit. Okay, so we've got a run of them here. Looks like it's pretty accurate. Yeah. Yeah. That bit was pretty good. Yep. Yep. That one was not a lot to do on this one, I don't think. Yep. Happy with that. So again, let's make our heights all the same again. If you do need to do a lot of adding and missing hits, it is easy to just draw it in here in that edit in place thing. But if you are missing a lot of hits, then you really should go back and check your trigger settings and reprint the MIDI out again. It's a lot easier to delete those misfires than to add them back in. So now we've done our cleaning up, I'm going to once again group all these MIDI tracks back together in one spot. I think just underneath the groups will be just fine. And we need to go into each drum editor or drum map, and these need to go to the correct lane. You can see kick's already done. C1. And this is the snare, so this is going to go to D1, so if you hold down Control and move down, drag down, that keeps them in the right spot. And we will go to Tom 1, again, hold Control, drag down, and Tom 2, drag down. And now we want to consolidate our MIDI performance together, so I'm just going to drag each of these on top of each other. Select our glue icon, and if you click a couple of times that will glue the whole thing together. And you'll see now, once we go into our drum map, they're all on the same track and in their respective lanes, which we are then going to tell Trigger to accept MIDI information from each of these tracks. I'm just going to do a bit of tidying up here as well, so I'm going to get rid of these MIDI tracks that we no longer need. And I'm just going to rename this now Drum MIDI. Now we have our drum performance captured as MIDI, we can now use it to set up gates and samples to clean up and improve our drum production. So next we'll be setting up the gates. Before we do, we need to take a quick look at some routing here. I'm going to create 12 group tracks, and I'm going to name them as such. So let's 12 group tracks, all stereo. And I want kick, mic, kick, sample, and a kick group. And then I want a snare, mic, snare, sample, and snare overall group. Then I want toms. I want overheads, I want rooms, and I want drums. Didn't quite need those other two on the end, so let's remove them for now. And if we needed to do a bit more routing here, so both our kicks, these both need to go to our kick and mic group. Our snares need to go to our snare mic group. If you hold down Shift and Alt while selecting the group you want it to go to, then you get them all done in one go, instead of having to do them individually. Our toms, I'm just going to go up to toms. So we have one overall group there. All these overheads are going to go out to overheads. And then all these rooms out to rooms. And then each of these need to go to their respective subgroups. So we have yep, that's going to be kick. Just check that's going to kick. Yep. Snares go out to snare. And then each of the main groups, so kick, snare, toms, overheads, rooms, these all go out to the final group where they all end up, which is drums. That's the end of part 2. In the next part, which should hopefully be the last part, part 3, we're going to look at routing out our MIDI to our gates, and then setting up the final samples, as well as phase aligning those samples, and have a much improved and cleaned up drum track ready for mixing. See you in part 3.